Well, out here on the deck, I'm looking at number 4 in our series on the Great Controversy. This one's entitled Standing for the Truth. And as part of the Great Controversy, that is really elementary, isn't it? We have to stand for the truth. We have to accept the truth. We have to believe in the truth. Jesus says, I am the way, the truth, and the life. And that is fundamental to our understanding of God, who speaks the truth, who is the truth, who lives the truth. You could even say all of that. Well, we're given some great examples in our study for this time from Daniel and Acts, 1 John, and so on. Maybe we begin with Daniel. You know the story of Daniel being taken away into captivity in Babylonia, and how he and his friends stood for the truth, even though it was at the peril of losing their lives. They weren't going to bow down, those 3 Hebrew worthies, to the golden statue. And Daniel too wasn't going to stand by and allow things to happen. He was going to go in and talk to the king about that dream that he had, so that the king could know there was a God in heaven who reveals these dreams and who can show what is coming, because that's what the king was so interested in. And by demonstrating this truth, you can invite people in. Why is it that we often begin our evangelistic programs with Daniel? Because he's such a great example of how God has worked in history. And Daniel too, the final image is that of God's eternal kingdom. The stone that fills the whole world is God's expanding kingdom after all these kingdoms of the world. So that's something to think about. Daniel and his friends did not accept what the king believed in and his way of life. They stood for what they knew to be true and healthy. They were standing for the truth in terms of their diet. We also have the challenge to stand for the truth. Are we going to talk to people who attack the Bible, attack God, who say that they have no time for religion and so on? How are we going to explain this to people? Now, I would suggest you don't do it in an antagonistic or a controversial way, but gently ask some questions. What about this? Do you think that there is an absolute truth? That's part of our problem in a postmodern world. People will say, well, you might believe that, but it doesn't work for me. Your truth is not my truth. Truth is however I decide it to be. That's very dangerous, isn't it? And so we need to go back to elements of like natural law. What is the truth about what happens in physics and in chemistry and so on? The laws of the universe. Those happen. When you mix 2 particular chemicals together, you always get the same result. That is the law. When you have 2 objects colliding, laws of motion apply and all the rest of that. So that's a place, I think, to begin, and then say, well, it also applies in the spiritual realm. As we think of what is true, what is the natural law? And maybe if that's not a good way to say it, what is reality? What is reality? And get people to think of reality. Is reality subjective? Is reality what I want it to be? Or is it might I even say it, the cold, hard facts of life? And you may say, well, I don't believe in gravity, but if you jump off a building, you're still going to die when you hit the bottom. So as you think of these things this week, as you put the idea of truth into the setting of the Great Controversy, let's remember that that is vitally important. Jesus came to stand for the truth, and we should do the same. God bless you in your studies this week.